Welcome, virtual audience. We're so excited to be here. My name is Megan Williams, and I have been the director of Tuck Everlasting at Mount Perrin Christian School. I am joined by part of our directing team, Miss Julie Duncan, our music director, and Mr. David Morgan, our technical director. The last time we stood on this stage together was March 12th, 2020. Which was supposed to be one of the most memorable and joyful days of the entire year. That was the night that Tuck Everlasting was to open right here on the Christy Lynn stage of the Murray Arts Center of Mount Perrin Christian School. Instead, 2 hours before opening, we packed up and went home. To honor you and what you did on Tuck Everlasting, and all the work that was poured into this production, we have created a video tribute. This is not a retelling of Tuck Everlasting, but a tribute to the work that was accomplished. We have collected pictures and video from you, our cast and crew, and from various resources, including compiled rehearsal footage from the performance week all the way back to the beginning of January. We know it's not perfect. We know it's not enough to make up for everything that we've lost. The truth is, Tuck Everlasting, the production that we built together, will always be our secret. Just like the spring in the wood was the secret that Winnie and the Tucks kept for their entire lives. The fact that we never shared this show with an audience makes it our spring, our secret, just like the Tucks. And just like the Tucks, I know it will live in our hearts forever.
We would like to thank all the parents that helped with the production, whether that was taking home costuming or props projects, or coming onto campus and helping build and paint. Also, to all the student volunteers who gave up their afternoons and weekends, we are truly sorry that we weren't able to show your contributions to a live audience. This was the most advantageous scenic and lighting production we've ever mounted at Mount Perrin. And we all know it would have been an amazing success. Be proud in the accomplishment that we did have. And hopefully seeing these images will be some consolation.
As Mrs. Williams said, this is the first time we've been together on this stage since March 12th. That day was very difficult because we had to break the news to our students, to you, that we had to pack it up and go home just hours before opening Tuck Everlasting. But some may not know that during the time that our school teachers and leaders were meeting and making the very difficult decision, our students were praying over these very seats in the Christy Lynn Theater. Our cast meetings right before a show opening are always serious, but this day was very different. The students knew, and they prayed for our school community, our cast and directors, and the families of our area that were already seeing the effects of this unprecedented event. You see, God's promises are true, and our school and our students truly believe this. Yes, there were emotions, but because of our faith in Jesus Christ, we knew we had the strength to endure. God is so good, and He is faithful, and because of His faithfulness, here we are today to present this unique snapshot of our Tuck Everlasting that will forever be in our hearts. We always begin every Mount Perrin performance with a prayer, so I would like for us to do that together right now. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we are just so thankful today of how you've blessed this community. You have seen us through, Lord, and we know that you have been right there with us every step of the way during these last few months, God. Lord, I thank you for the students who participated in this production, for all the directors, the staff, the musicians, the cast and crew, God, everyone that had anything to do with it, Lord, God, bless their efforts, God, in the future even if we didn't get to perform this, God, we just know that the skills that we learned through this production, God, will go forward with us. And Lord, we just ask that you bless this time. Give each student and anyone involved just comfort as they watch this production, Lord, and these snapshots, God, that we have presented, Lord. We just ask that you continue to bless our community, Lord, and we just love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Today is the day I've been waiting forever. It's the first day of August, 1893. Tonight there's a fair and a candle to sew. I might get my mother to say I can go. Winnie, coming, Mother. Getting out of the house happens, well, never. There's a gate and a lock and rules to abide. I wish I had wings. I look good with a pair. But if wings are too much, at least give me the fair. Let this be the day I stay out all evening and fall right into step as a band starts to play. Not another boring day in Tree Gap, New Hampshire. I can't live like this. I can't live like this forever. Today is the day. The waiting is over. Tonight we will all be a family again. My boys will be home by the end of the day. I can't wait. I should wait. Don't meet them halfway. Let this be the day I'm free of this cabin, where the only thing that moves is the grass on the wall. They're off to start the hall to Tree Gap, New Hampshire. I can't live like this. I can't live like this forever.
Off the train in New Hampshire, and it's back in an instant. The feeling that I'm somewhere I don't belong. Hello, Tree Gap, New Hampshire. Catch me up on what's new. Your side, who I see, still has the best view. I swear. Is there anyone who still knows me? Almost there. Almost there.
whole life employed to a traveling fair. You may wonder why this old barker barks on. It's the trail no one knows I've stumbled upon. Let this be the day that I learn the secret and find who holds the key to what I'm looking for. I will knock on every door, intrigue at New Hampshire to live like this. I could live like this forever.
Let this be the day where something will happen. Let me see the fair. Let my mother read. I feel it coming over me. Intrigue at New Hampshire. I could live like this. I could live like this forever. I could live like this forever. Live like this forever.
Tuck Everlasting is a familiar tale to many who grew up reading the book by Natalie Babbitt, brought to life in the enchanting musical that ran here in Atlanta in 2015 before opening on Broadway a year later. It tells the story of a young girl, Winnie Foster, who makes friends with the Tucks, a family who accidentally became immortal after drinking from a spring in the woods. Throughout the show, the audience cannot help but ask themselves the same question that Winnie must answer for herself. Would you drink from the spring and become immortal? Ironically, in a story about living forever, death is a recurring theme throughout Tuck Everlasting. Grief brings suffering. The loss of a loved one is a deep and inevitable pain that can take months and years to recover from. But despite the hardship that comes along with it, death is what gives life value. The reason we try our best to recover and move forward from pain is because we know that the next day is not promised to us. No one wants to reach their final days regretting not making the most of what they had, so we search for fulfillment and happiness in everything we do. Without the pressure of death, the Tucks are left with no motivation in life. During Act 2, Angus Tuck sings a song in which he teaches Winnie the importance of the cycle, or the wheel of life and death that we all must ride. He tells her, "You can't have living without dying, so you can't call this living what we got." In other words, the Tucks never move forward from their grief or seek fulfillment in life because they are stuck in the middle of the cycle with no way to continue it. Angus advises Winnie, don't be afraid of death. Be afraid of not being truly alive. We invite you to explore the questions that are implied throughout Tuck Everlasting, such as what would you do if offered the secret to immortality here on Earth? We hope you enjoy this heartfelt story full of life, joy, laughter, and sorrow. Even more importantly, we hope that it encourages you to consider what it means for you in your own life to be truly alive.
In your role as a student director in this production, what has this story and this production meant to you?
I think that being able to be involved in the story is really interesting, and especially in this new role as a student director that I haven't gotten to experience before. It's been really helpful to see their overarching story, whereas when I've been in shows, I love performing, but you really just get like the one character, the one part, but it's been really cool to see how all the different pieces fit together and notice the how different parts of it connect, and the overall message instead of just, you know, each little part of it.
Is there anything else that you want to share with our virtual audience?
I was very disappointed when the show got canceled, but I also think that the work that we put into it was very meaningful. And so, like, just for my fellow cast and crew members, like, don't just think that it was for nothing. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I think that it was a lot of really helpful work, and it was important to us, even if we didn't get to share it.
Thank you. And I say all the time to parents and to students that I care far more about the process rather than the product in educational theater. And even though I know we had an astounding and phenomenal product that we never got to show to an audience, I value the process of getting to put that together with you so much more. And I'll never lose that. I will never, no one will ever take that from you or from me or from any of us. And so that's one thing I hope, is that this tribute video is something tangible that you can keep, that you can watch and remind yourself of the gifts that you got from Tuck Everlasting.
I had a farmhouse with a grandfather clock, where I would teach time to my son.
Well, thank you, Will Fink, for joining us for this segment. Will is a graduated senior, so he's actually not a senior anymore. And he played Miles Tuck in our production of Tuck Everlasting. So we've heard from a few other people, we've heard a synopsis of the story, but straight from you, I would love to know how you feel like Miles fits into this story.
He's kind of a complicated character. He's the older brother of Jesse, so he's got, you know, he's serious. He's, like I said earlier, he's stern, and I mean, he's wants a plan. He's got everything organized, but he's also really emotional at times, but he doesn't let people show it. He only opens up around a very small amount of people, Winnie Foster being one of them. And he plays a role of not only like older brother, but he also kind of plays a fatherly role for Winnie as well, because he did have a kid who was taken away due to his mortality.
Well, you had a lot of, I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of circumstance that is so far from reality for you, for Will. So, but was there anything that you had to do to create that imaginary life of Miles, like, because you don't have the grief and the heartbreak that he has? I don't know, how did you find a way to relate to that?
I've tried to think about the closest thing I could have experienced to losing my wife or son. I mean, losing a pet, losing family or friends, just that sense of loss, because grief is pretty universal, and I just tried to think about any kind of grief that I've experienced and healthily put that into my rendition of Miles.
What's your most vivid memory of the rehearsal process?
The first time we did time, but the first time we did it completely, it's really like, I guess, like shaky. I was like really uncomfortable. Like I was like emotionally like not okay. I walked around back, and Jillian had come around too, because of the scene had ended. She's like, okay, yeah, I could tell that you're acting, but you still need a hug, so come here. And I'm like, yes, thank you.
Has Tuck Everlasting changed you? And if so, in what ways?
The fact that we learned about a family who was stuck in one place and then went into a quarantine. I connected with the Tucks so much more during quarantine, because I was able to, I mean, no, it wasn't hundreds of years, but it was 3 months that felt like hundreds of years. And it just proved to me that even if I don't have a long time to live, even if my life is shortened somehow, I want to make sure that every single second counts, and I don't want to be stuck in one area.
Mm. What do you want a virtual audience of Tuck Everlasting to know?
It was a journey, and it is not the fact that we never got to perform it doesn't take it away. It's almost like a secret that the cast gets to keep among ourselves that we will carry with us, and almost is given more value because it was only for us. And at the end, it was a lesson that we all learned by ourselves.
Honestly, I don't have a father anymore.
Don't?
No, but I know I will love him for the rest of my life. And I know Thomas will love you for the rest of his.
It's water, it's in the water.
Thank you so much for joining us for this segment of our Tuck Everlasting tribute. We are joined right now by the Noah Dyer, who played the man in the yellow suit in our production. Noah, what was your process for creating this character?
I sort of went with like a Joker from Batman kind of thing, because I guess with that character, you know, he's funny and he's like super energetic and laughing all the time, but then like with the flick of a switch, he's like evil and, you know, very scary and makes you uncomfortable.
You had some extensive makeup and hair for this role. Explain the process for physically becoming the character. What was it like the first time you saw yourself as yellow suit and full hair, makeup, costume, and did that change your performance?
I would say change my performance for sure. I didn't even see myself before other people saw me because I had to walk down to the dressing room. I remember people looking at me and I walked past 3 people and they didn't even realize it was me. And then they like had to like double look at me. It was really funny.
We talked during the show week about how much you came alive when that orchestra came in.
Oh, for sure.
And like, I don't know, maybe talk for a moment about what it was like to sing with a live orchestra, especially with you being a musician. I'm curious to hear you talk a little bit about what it was like when you heard that first downbeat of Live Like This, and then standing up at that Sitzprobe and singing with that powerful orchestra. What was it like for you personally? And then how did that help Yellow Suit come to life even more?
I mean, for me, it was just a whole different experience and vibe. It was almost like the music filled the entire room. Like you could feel it more, you know? Just like you said, the hearing Live Like This that first time was like mind blowing. It was awesome.
Has this show changed you? And if so, how?
I mean, I would say it's definitely changed me. I was kind of very okay with how I was, you know what I mean? Like I didn't like being out of my comfort zone and things like that. And going through the whole process of, you know, creating that character and becoming the man in the yellow suit made me feel very comfortable with not being comfortable, if that makes sense.
What do you want the virtual audience of Tuck Everlasting to know? What would you like to share with this platform of viewers?
I appreciate the things that, you know, we have and enjoy the moments and the little things, because you realize, you know, we don't live forever. And instead of having to extend that out, and, you know, the sad parts of it, we should just enjoy what we have now and the short life that we're gifted with. So.
So I'm Emily Roberts, and I was a crew member for Tuck, and yeah, and I was a senior, so yeah.
You were a senior? You were in advanced stagecraft?
I was.
Hi, I'm Audrey Weaver. I was the stage manager for Tuck Everlasting, and yeah. Oh yeah, I was a junior for the show, and then now I'm going to be a senior next year.
I'm Aniston Ragsdale. I was a senior this year, and I was the assistant stage manager and partial flight crew.
Well, so I think it was me and 4 other people because we both had to be on like a branch side of the tree. And it was funny because you had to, the way the wheel and the tree was set up, you had to keep going back and forth with it before you could actually move it. And about 3 people had to be on the backside just to get it to even start moving. And then when we brought it out to the center, of course, we had the spike tapes, so we knew where to go, but you still had to be mindful of which branch you were holding, because even if it looked like it fit, it didn't exactly fit if you didn't pull it out right and pull the, I can't remember what that was called, but pull it and make sure it was clamped together and everything was positioned right. And
It was, from a calling perspective, like calling the show, it was very challenging because of how many moving parts. And it wasn't just like a lot of the transitions, we couldn't just, it wasn't just like flats moving, like that was it. Like it was like there's flats moving in and there was a massive wooden tree moving out or something. Like it was very, like I had to be very careful about what I called when, because if I said, if I called something too early or too late, then it could cause like damage to the set pieces. So it was really involved in everything. Yeah.
Like it was like the front part of the house, right? Yeah, that also, if you didn't have it spiked in the back at the right place for that specific scene, it was difficult, especially because we had to turn it in such a small space. So if we weren't all focused and ready to go when we had our cue, then we were definitely going to miss it. And if we didn't properly go at the right time, we were either going to go too fast and miss our mark. I don't think we realized at the beginning how much work was going to have to go into the tree. Because when we saw the initial, I can't even think of words right now, but when we saw the initial design for the tree and how it was going to spread out into the pieces, we didn't realize that meant we were going to have like 2 bolts and then something in between it to make sure it stayed together. And then especially when we were putting the steps on there and making sure that would fit right in the proper place, that it was just, we didn't realize how much work was going to go into it. Yes.
And we had to
turn
mark
it on its side and then flip it over again.
That we had basically 2 tech weeks. The first one was like a mini, it was kind of like half a tech week. And it was, didn't we focus on just set like moving transitions and
it was
like
mostly
getting the,
traditionally it would be called a cue to cue.
It helped so much. Whatever we did there, we pulled it together that night. Like that was like, I wish we could, we're so close, like it's literally right here, like this is opening night.
We went in the audience and we heard the news, and of course we were sad because, well, we had just put in so much work, so much effort, everything finally felt like it was somewhat coming into place. So it was kind of like all that went to waste.
And so again, it just took me time to accept that it was what had to happen and take a step back and like get away from all like my emotions about the actual show itself.
Yes, the tree, and when they were going up the tree and singing in the silo, those were, I think, my 2 favorite parts seeing.
The set piece I was blown away with the most was actually the Tuck Cottage, because of how much detail there was, and it just came to life. Like the bricks of the fireplace.
That one's really hard, but I actually really liked the beginning when we had the scrim down and it was kind of a blurry picture, like an Imagine almost, when you could only see the silhouettes of the main characters and they were coming out and everyone was singing and it was just a nice opening number.
I love it when we can put aside what part of the show you work on and just come together to actually work on the entirety of the show?
Well, we all had nicknames, for starters, and I would normally start the show by doing my Chewbacca growl, so that was always interesting.
Chewbacca, okay. So can you give us one of those right now?
Yes, exactly. Like they were both being respectful to each other, which I was very happy to hear.
Look at him go.
Haven't seen a grown man move like that since my Uncle Pete got fire ants in his shorts.
That sounds horrible.
Oh no, Hugo. It was hilarious. Well, we best be getting on.
Would hate to let him get too far ahead.
Well, a fella dressed in yellow ain't too hard to track.
Sure isn't a nice yellow.
Hugo, there's no such thing as a nice yellow.
But what about baby cheekies, or dandelions, or corn on the cob, or...
Butter?
Good one, sir.
I don't know, Hugo. I got a bad feeling it's all gonna come apart like wet bread. You can't trust a man dressed in yellow, Hugo. Only a rogue wears that hue. A man who is fondest of suits that are jaundiced puts the yoke on him and the joke on you. They're tricksy, all men dressed in yellow. Something deadly in their livelihood. He must be compensating.
Also fabricating.
Hugo, there you go again. Fabricating? If he hated the fabric, he would have never bought the suit. He must be compensating.
Also lying
about why he wants the Foster's wood. Oh, you can't trust a man dressed in yellow. That I knew from his very first hello. I should have locked him in a cell. Oh, you can't trust a man
from the carnival.
Also, carnival man can't be trusted. Something wicked there brews underneath. Those inbred regalia with mad brachynalia, they all share maybe 8 teeth. I say, carnival man can't be trusted. Flashy hobos invading our towns. They asked my permission to charge an admission to expose us to charlatans, acrobats, and
clowns, sir?
I hate them. Well, men can't be trusted. They are all acutely maladjusted. Who knows how their funnel cake is dusted? No, you can't trust a man
with a bad handshake.
Did you notice his peculiar handshake? His fingers neither flaccid nor firm.
Like touching a porpoise.
No habeas corpus can keep that fish
mammal
from serving full term. Bad handshake, bad man. Watch it if his grip likes to squeeze. And a carnival man can't be trusted.
As shifty as a swinging trapeze.
And you can't trust a man dressed in yellow. Even if you love cheddar cheese, commingle all of these. You'll see the recipes. One bad man, one bad man, one bad man. Come along, Hugo. Let's pick up the pace.
Welcome to our interview segment with Kayla Green, who plays Mae Tuck in our production of Tuck Everlasting. Kayla, can you tell us a little bit about how Mae fits into this story?
Mae is kind of like the glue of the whole Tuck family. She keeps everyone on track. She tries to keep everyone positive. You can tell she's sort of one of the most tortured ones out of all the Tuck family members. In the end, she's one of the ones that pulls the family back together and shows everyone that they still have a life worth living.
Yeah, great. Thank you. What was your process for creating the character of Mae?
The most challenging part of it was figuring out the age. I had to really, think about what being a mid 40-year-old mother would look like. And then especially keeping in mind the fact that not only is she physically and mentally 40 years old, but she's also lived on earth for over 100 years, and she has the wisdom and experiences of someone over the age of 100. So what does that look like?
What was your favorite moment on stage as Mae?
I think the one that I felt was the most raw and really showed who she was as a person is the scene leading up to the song My Most Beautiful Day, where Winnie brings out the dress that she was wearing when Angus proposed to her, and she sort of is like flooded with all of these fond memories. There's a line in the song, it's my favorite line I think in the whole show. It says, "Each memory a sweet melody the heart clings to. With each passing day, what time takes away, the heart makes new."
Each memory a sweet melody, the heart clings to. With each passing day, what time takes away, the heart makes new. Looking back is something to look forward to.
No one wants to say that death is a beautiful thing, but Tuck Everlasting shows you the flip side of that, which is very, very weird to watch and even stranger to play. So I think that it kind of gave me, in a way, a new appreciation for death and seeing that life is precious because it ends. And I think that's a message that everyone should grasp with, grapple with in their life. And I'm really thankful that we got to do that as a family.
We are joined in this segment by our music director, Miss Julie Duncan, and one of my dear friends and colleagues. So in this musical, we actually had a live orchestra, which we haven't had for nearly 10 years. So Miss Duncan, I thought maybe you could talk to us about what are some of the benefits and what are some of the challenges of having a live orchestra.
Because it's more of a modern piece, is one of the reasons why we chose to do an orchestra, because you could do a pared down orchestra. When you do some of the classics and you pull in an orchestra, you've got to have so much instrumentation that would be a challenge, I think, in when you're making a decision for a show. So as far as the benefits go, I would think that for the actors to have the experience of working with a live orchestra where you work on the nuances of the music together and you bring all that together in a way that's just very special, it leads to a creativity between actor and orchestra members. And we were also able to incorporate student members of the orchestra as well. We had a bass player, Will Duncan. And he played the electric and the stand-up bass. Okay. We had a viola player and Miss Jillian Impey. We had a trumpet player, Daniel Bolivar. Daniel and Jillian even played auxiliary percussion, which was a really neat thing. The other thing, we're so fortunate, we have an incredible cellist on staff that is our orchestra teacher, Jennifer Davenport. And then we have Billy Flood, who is our marching band and band instructor. He's been at Mount Perrin for a long time, longer than any of us, really. And he played our drums, and he's, incredible musician as well. So it was so cool. This is the first time that the three of us, as the band, chorus, and orchestra teacher, were able to collaborate and play. Oh, and Mr. Bragg, let me say Mr. Bragg. He's very humble. He doesn't want to be mentioned, but he played the soprano saxophone and covered different woodwind parts. Huge benefits and challenges for each, but this was the right show to do. So we're so thankful we were able to do it. And because basically what it is the first time the actors and actresses come in and they sit on the stage in chairs. And a traditional one is when all the actors, first time they're with the orchestra. And so it's not about the actors anymore. It's about the orchestra playing along with them. And so we're sitting there. The kids that were on stage were just overwhelmed with, you could see it in their faces with gratitude, and I mean, there were tears, and they just couldn't believe how wonderful what this experience was going to be like. It just blew them away. Well, I had to, really, really, really organize myself. I met with Amanda Morgan, who is a friend and of our school. She teaches at Kennesaw University. What is it? Kennesaw State.
Kennesaw State, yeah.
Kennesaw State University. And she's the wife of our technical director, too. Anyway, she's a wonderful person, and she's done this so much that I felt like I needed to have some guidance, because I have sat behind the piano my whole career and directed choirs from the piano. So I knew that it was possible for me to do that, but I felt like it was important for me to prepare by getting information. And so she shared a lot of good stuff with me, and which got me thinking about how to prepare my book, how to color code my book. I mean, there's so much to do. I made lots of notes just with, I got to give a cue here. I got to make sure I cut off here. So it was a lot of one-hand playing. But my accompanying skills, I didn't have to think about that part as much. But that's how I prepared, and just knowing that music inside and out was helpful for sure. I'm thankful for that opportunity, and I had a blast because I love accompanying. So.
You need a partner in crime, someone to share in the view. Want to see the world and all of its glories, and not a friend to tell your stories to.
Dance was an integral part of the telling of Tuck Everlasting. To provide insight into the world of dance in Tuck Everlasting, we are joined in this segment by co-choreographer and my colleague, Holly Culpepper, and ensemble members Clara Hayes, Rainey Hill, and Emily Jimenez. Thanks for being here. Let's start with Holly. Holly, can you share with us some of your feelings on contributing to this production?
Yes, of course. Tuck Everlasting is such a beautiful story, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to be a part of the production. It will always hold a special place in my heart because it was my first musical at Mount Perrin. I think what sets it apart from other musicals that I have either worked on or I've seen or I've been in myself performing is that it's extremely relatable to every audience member. No matter what age you are, what stage of life you're in, you're touched by this storyline. This concept of the wheel, that's a reoccurring theme in Tuck Everlasting, how our life continues to move in a circular motion, that's just so beautiful to me. Working as a choreographer on this show helped me reflect on my own life. For instance, I look at my grandparents, they're 80 and 84 years old, and I think about all my memories with them and all their memories with each other. And then I look at my parents, who are now grandparents, and then I look at myself, who's now a mother of two beautiful children. I'm reminded that life's a wheel and it keeps on moving. Our story's already written, and we're just riding out this wheel until our eternal life in heaven. And that's what's so special, and that is what just has made this show unlike any other.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Holly. I would like to give you a little bit of background on the 10-minute ballet that concludes our story. This musical number, called The Story of Winnie Foster, is performed entirely through music and dance. What's incredible about this musical number is that these dancers were able to tell the entire story of Winnie Foster in about 10 minutes. Let's find out how they accomplished this.
What was your thought process in portraying different stages of Winnie's life in the story of Winnie Foster? Let's start with Emily.
Okay, so for me, I felt like I related to Winnie a lot. You know, we're kind of like, I play young teenage Winnie, and I am a teenager, so I really related to her, and I thought, you know, I could take my own life experiences and kind of think about that when I was dancing as Winnie. So it was honestly a lot of fun. I felt like I was kind of just playing myself, you know, having a good time, and then eventually like meeting someone and falling in love. And yeah, it was super special, and I just wanted to portray like through my emotions and through the dance movements I was doing, just kind of like the excitement that she has for the future. And because there's so many opportunities, knowing that like she chose not to drink the water, which at first might have been scary for her, but then she knew that there was so much more out there. You know, she found love and she started creating a family. So I just kind of wanted to capture like the excitement of life and just the beauty and youthfulness. So that was my thought process when dancing as Winnie. So
Clara, here's a question for you. As choreographers, we staged the story of Winnie Foster to continually move in a wheel to represent the wheel of life. Was it hard to tell your story, your stage of Winnie's life in the short amount of time that you were given on stage?
It was definitely a challenge to, in such a short amount of time, like portray like the age of Winnie and like where she was at in life. So she got middle-aged Winnie got to see her son kind of being a teenager, and so I definitely related to myself being the teenager and how my mom would react. And so kind of, you know, wanting my angry teenager to like still play with mom and like be that little kid dancing with my son, and then stepping back, watching him fall in love and watching his wedding. So it was definitely a short amount of time, but I think that the little bits that were portrayed like got to show like the important aspects of her life. So.
Rainey, you had a few powerful moments on stage that had nothing to do with choreography. How did you use your training as an actor?
Throughout my entire, I guess, ballet training years, I guess you could say, I've been performing in the Nutcracker. And just as important as dance was, acting was equally as important, simply because there are no words in a ballet. They kind of complemented each other, I guess. You couldn't really have one without the other for this particular section in the show, because there was a mix of both minimal dancing and acting, but both complemented each other fairly easily. But my training as an actor really helped the dancing. I would find myself trying to be more of the dancer, when I needed to be more of the actor, when I needed to put in the actor mind and say, no, my character would stand like this, she would behave like this. So I really think that being an actor influenced a lot of my movement and my choices for Old Winnie.
All right, you guys. Other than the story of Winnie Foster, which number in Tuck Everlasting was your favorite to perform and why? Let's start with Rainey.
Everything's Golden. 100% Everything's Golden. And it has a very specific reason. Sure, the dance was a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to watch and to be a part of. But I remember one rehearsal in particular. It was during Tech Week or the week before Tech Week, but our energy as a group was just a little bit low that day, and we were all kind of tired. And I don't know if it was a long day at school or that type of thing, but directors decided to have everyone sit in the audience, and they were cheering us on, and they were, going crazy over a dance. And that just really brought a new form of energy to it and an excitement about the dance. And I really think that I was able to carry that excitement, and everyone else was able to carry that excitement with them for the rest of our time with Tuck Everlasting. So that was just a lot of fun, and that's going to be a memory from Tuck that I think will probably be my favorite.
How about Clara?
Okay, I also loved Everything's Golden, and I also loved Live Like This. It was the opening, and it brought a great energy to the show, and getting to introduce all the characters and like kind of dancing through with that. So I like both of those.
How about Emily?
Partner in Crime was just so much fun. It's that one number in the show where everyone's in it and it's just basically a party. It was awesome. The rehearsal for that was so much fun. And in that one, I was a parasol dancer. So kind of similar to in Everything's Golden. It was nice to play a different kind of character with a little bit of attitude. And yeah, I loved it.
But if my father knew about the water, then we would have never had to say goodbye. Ever.
I I bet you didn't know that the sun took a shine to water. She drinks up a bit, floats it up to the sky. Now what she takes from our lake will make her storm cloud that rumbles and tumbles rain from up high, high, high. It's a wheel, Winnie, this journey of ours. Sun to lake to cloud that showers rain back to the lake below. And you'll ride that wheel wherever you go. Not a minute or a moment's the same. The wheel keeps you guessing. And everything around you is along for the ride. The pond, the bullfrogs, the birch trees, and the hound dogs, plus people, all people ebb and flow with the tide, tide, tide. It's a wheel, Winnie, a ripple in water. Girl to wife to mother to daughter, like all your kinfolk, come and gone. Can't stop rowing, growing, changing, then moving on. Once you drop an anchor, a boat gets stuck, and it could stay forever.
Just floating on top,
Watching life pass you by, just floating on top. Show me how to climb back on the wheel. I'll be there slick as a slingshot, prepared to get off at the end and share with someone my spot. You can't have living without dying, so you can't call this living what we got. We just are, we just be, no before, no beyond. A rowboat anchored in the middle of a pond. Don't be afraid of death, Winnie. Be afraid of not being truly alive. You don't have to live forever. You just have to live. Do you understand?
yes. It's a
It's a wheel, Winnie, a ripple in water. Girl to wife, to mother, to daughter, like all your kinfolk, come and gone.
It's a wheel.
It's a wheel, Winnie, a circle in motion. Can't stop rowing, growing, changing, then moving on. Can't stop rowing, growing, changing, then moving
There's no use in running away if you don't make it an adventure.
Hope you're not afraid of heights.
Well, there's a way to find out.
Watch my every step. Find a sturdy branch. Don't you dare look down. Pull your body up. Dig in your heels. Let's see what this tree reveals. Just a few more feet. Almost at the top. Watch the robins. Pull your body up till you broke and bruised. Let's see if this tree has a view. At the top, to the top, to the top of the world, you're drawing back a curtain. At the top, to the top, to the top of the world, there you go for certain. You're alive and you are free. So look at me. At the top of the world.
You look so different from up here.
You ain't seen it happen.
Don't you ever get afraid?
You aren't afraid. You aren't alive. Mountains to the west, and ocean to the east, a storm cloud to the north, ready to pour every single more. Leaves me wanting more and more. Top of the top of the world, my head and heart are pounding. At the top of the top of the top of the world, I hear my voice resounding. I'm alive and I am free. So look at me.
You gotta see it to believe it.
And believe me, I've seen it. The frontier of the upper atmosphere.
A wonder to behold it.
Story yet untold, it's up here.